friends, we are back today, and we are back with more Mythos Tales. So we're gonna do the next investigation here. This is gonna be number 6 in the book, I believe. Real fast, while I'm thinking about it, we actually need to update this. Oh, it is there. Okay, sorry, I forgot to put that on. All right, so. Real quick, go over a couple of things here before I start, so in case you haven't watched the stream before. So in the top of the screen there, you'll see a couple of different links. The one on the right, the discount code, every time we do a live stream, whatever game we're playing is going to have a discount code you can use on our website when you order the game. So if you go to greyfoxgames.com, put Mythos Tales in your checkout cart, and then use the Mythos Live code, it'll give you 20% off of the game. So that's pretty sweet there. The other one, teespring.com/store/greyfoxgames, that's our merch store. On Friday when I did our Q&A, I went over and I showed everyone different items available, but we have a bunch of different stuff you can order: shirts, hoodies, stickers, pillows, all different things from Grey Fox, different artworks from different games, and various things from the company. So a bunch of good stuff there. So go check it out, and we'll ship it straight to you. So that's that Mythos Tales. If you're tuning in for the first time, this is a story-driven kind of mystery deduction game. So if you ever read any of the old R.L. Stine or Goosebumps books that are like pick your own adventure kind of stuff, that is what this kind of is. We'll read an intro to the scenario, and it'll give us some clues, and then we'll follow the clues to different locations on the map, and each one of those locations, or maybe not, but most locations, if I turn to find them in the book, it'll have an excerpt there of the person that's there, and then that will hopefully lead us to more clues and try and solve the mystery. It'll give us a time limit here that we'll mark on this board, and that is the maximum amount of time that we'll have to figure it out. At the end of the time, or whenever we think we're ready, at the end of the investigation, it'll have a list of questions for us, and then we will answer those questions to the best of our ability, and we'll get a score based on how well we answered them. And then we will either basically pass or fail based off what we did. And there's unique mechanics that can mess with us. And the last one we did, it was a poison mechanic, so the more that I chose not to lose time and rested, or that I chose not to rest, I ended up possibly having to end the investigation early, or lost points at the end of the game. So all kinds of cool stuff. We don't know what this next one, every investigation is going to be different, so I don't know what mechanics are going to be in this new one. It may be something new, maybe bring back something old, who knows. That's what we're going to find out. But that's the gist of the game here. So yeah, like I said, this is investigation number 6 of 8 in the book. We're doing one every week until we get through the book. So everything is set up here. Once again, if you're watching and you'd like to help me out and play along, what you can do is we uploaded digital files of Mythos Tales. You can find them on Board Game Geek. If you go there and then just search Mythos Tales, you can find the digital files, and you can pull them up. It's the map and the newspapers and the directory and the rule book. And that way, if I'm reading something and you catch a clue, you can kind of research it and then post in the comments and kind of help me out with what's going on here. You'll notice the setup today, camera-wise, is a little bit different, has some technical difficulties. You can only use one camera today, so sorry, won't get to see my face, but that's fine. This is what we care about anyways. So let's go ahead and let's jump into it. So this one is called the Star of Taclau. It takes place on January 16th, 1930. So here's our starting excerpt here, and this is going to tell us basically our time limit as well as the difficulty and any special mechanics we have for this investigation. Looks like there's no special things. It's just requirement cards, which are these, which we'll possibly gain through different points in our investigation. And if we gain any of these cards, then we can use them at other spots to unlock special things generally, or it's required to do something. Alright, so investigation complexity. Armitage tells you, finally, a theft of valuable gems along with suspicious murders. This is a case for the classic sleuth to solve, and I believe this should be a rather straightforward investigation. Let's be done with this case by day 7 morning. So day 7 morning is going to be right there. We start over here, so essentially we're going to have after the first excerpt, we always start here in the morning, so we have 5, 8, 11, 14, 17. So I'll basically have 18 time slots, so that's 18 things. Unless we lose time somewhere, then generally we'll have 18. Or sometimes you can lose slots by having to retrace your steps, or by going to a location where sometimes you'll go somewhere and there's nothing there. So yeah, that's what we're gonna do. Okay. So, like I said, we have our newspaper that is marked for today, so we'll set that here, and as always, we will have our pen and paper, which is the most important thing you can have. Friendly reminder that you need to take extensive notes in this game if you want to have any hope of answering these questions. Even if it seems like a non-important detail, you should probably take a note about it. All right. So, the Star of I'm just going to say Tucklaw. I don't know how to actually say it. But the Star of Tucklaw, Investigation 6, Arkham, Massachusetts, January 16th, 1930. There's a fog in the morning air and a chill that makes you pull your coat a little tighter as you make your way to Armitage's rooms at the university. I'm glad you've arrived so quickly, he exclaims as he ushers you inside. While you remove your hat and coat, the old librarian pulls down a decrepit-looking tome from his heaving shelves. Got 2 puzzles for you today. I assume you've had time to peruse the morning edition of the Advertiser I sent you. Good, because that makes 3 suspicious disappearances this week alone. I simply cannot see how 3 elderly residents of our own town can up and vanish overnight. All 3 are retirees without families or close associates to miss them, perfect victims. I also cannot imagine that the timing of their disappearances is a mere coincidence, with the gala event taking place at the museum this week. This Star of Tucklaw troubles me immensely. Even without the nonsense about the curse, there remains something odd about its history. I was talking with Inspector Garrison yesterday about the security, and he mentioned his constables having to chase a group of ne'er-do-wells away from the museum's service entrance. Pausing to fill his pipe, the old librarian flips open the dusty tome to a page with the heading Ritual Magics in spidery scrawl. Glancing at the unearthly symbols on the page makes you feel extremely nauseous, and you quickly avert your gaze. This is a translation from the 12th century Latin original. Its title roughly translates as Things of the Water, and it describes ritual sacrifices to monsters that live in the deep, in return for baubles such as this diamond. I don't believe the stories of a curse for 1 minute, but no smoke without fire, so to speak. I need to look into these disappearances. Hopefully they are mundane, but no one can ever be too careful. Secondly, see what you can find out about this gem. Make sure there's nothing to the rumors and identify the men lurking around the stone. It would be foolhardy to assume that a gem of that value wouldn't attract the wrong kind of attention from certain quarters, supernatural or criminal. And that's it for that. Okay. So let's go ahead and let's go over some notes here. Let's see what we can get out of this. So we're gonna need to consult the newspaper, and then let's see what else we can get from this passage first, though, as we always do. So the gala event taking place at the museum. So gala at the museum. So that means we'll need to find the museum space. Immensely, let's talk to Garrison. So we'll want to talk to Garrison as well. See what we can get out of him. Let's see. 12th century Latin original. Its title roughly translates as Things of the Water. So let's write that down. Things of the Water. And it describes ritual sacrifices to monsters that live in the deep in return for baubles such as this diamond. So as far as I can tell, there's not a whole lot to go off of here. We know that it's going to be at the museum. We know that he talked to Garrison, which means we're going to need to talk to the police, and we also says it translates something things with the water, so it has something to do with water, so we're probably going to want to keep that in mind. And he said the history of it, which means we could also talk to the historian, and she might have a lead for us. Now, if you remember the previous investigation, we actually had a really good lead from Pascal Fenton, and he was able to identify this like totem of sorts that kind of gave us a big lead. So when it comes to like trinkets like this, he might be more useful than he normally would be. So he might not be a bad person to talk to as well. So I'll go ahead and I'll just write that down as well. So we can talk to Fenton. And then who is at the historian? Who is that? Dorothy Davis at the Arkham Historical Society. So I'll put that as the AHS. So that's going to be L1. Fenton is going to be at L4. And Garrison is going to be at... Where is he? D32. And the museum. So let's go to our thing here and let's check out museum, which I believe would be under local culture. University Exhibit Museum. That must be it. That would be C24. Okay. So that is everything, it seems. So let's pick one of these and let's start. Oh yeah, I'm gonna need to be careful about this timer here. So as a matter of fact, I'll just go ahead and I'll just move that up here somewhere. And okay, so also we need to go over this newspaper here. Escapes from Dash and Sell, International News, Business of Arkham, Policeman Dead, War Veterans Missing. Here we go. Arkham's Veterans Association has appealed to the citizens of Arkham with regarding to two of its members it is trying to reconnect with. Both Sergeant John Salter, retired, and Colonel Henry Benoit, retired, served in the 26th Infantry Division during the Great War and the Massachusetts Army National Guard. They have regularly attended events and weekly soup mornings for several years, but have not been seen for over a week. They were last seen together inside a merchant district, but district business, purchasing items for an expedition. Any information welcome at the Miskatonic Valley Veterans Home campus. Okay. So we have some names, and we have the Veterans Association. So those are more leads that we can follow up with as well. So, John Salter. And Henry Benoit. So checking out their houses might not be a bad idea. And then we have the Veterans Association. So let's find out the Veterans Association. I think that would be under... let's see here. No, not quite. Veterans Association. Veterans Association. What's this called? This is the Miskatonic. So, is it somewhere on campus, maybe? University Miskatonic. Administration. St. Mary's Hospital. They might not have a physical location. Warren Library. What are they called here? It is the Miskatonic Valley Veterans Home. So I guess let's try the M's. Miskatonic Valley Veterans Home, C1. There it is. Okay, so we have that. And now let's check out these guys. John Salter and Henry Benoit. So we're closer to S, so let's look up Salter. J. Salter, that would be D46. And then Benoit, Henry Benoit. So let's go to the B's. That would be U33. Okay. We have a bunch of sleeves in the prototype room if you need them. So. Yeah. Interesting. Okay, so here's another thing in the newspaper I just noticed. Helping the veterans. The Ladies Auxiliary of the American Legion of Arkham met last Thursday with Miss Rosa Rabone presiding in the absence of Miss Bemis. The report showed that food, clothing, rent, coal, and other necessities have been provided for unfortunate veterans and their families. So there could be a link to some of the veteran stuff happening there. So that's relevant. Also, Cursed Diamond Centerpiece exhibit. Here's another thing about what's going on here. Arkham Museum curator, Miss Amanda Bellinger, has been quick to dispel rumors surrounding the purported curse attached to the centerpiece of the museum's latest exhibit. The Star of Teklau was recently bequeathed to with a number of items from estate of eccentric Kingsport shipping magnate Berkeley Hollingsworth II. The impressive cut diamond set in a serpentine golden-hued necklace has a history of misfortune and notoriety. Keen to capitalize upon the public interest in the Star, Bellinger and her staff have worked tirelessly to create a new exhibit hall devoted to the culture of the South Sea Islands in addition to the Star. Several large stone carven heads, Maui, have been loaned to the museum. The gala opening of the exhibit, set for Saturday, January 18th, will see Arkham's local dignitaries and members of esteemed academia in attendance. Interesting. So we have a name, Miss Amanda Bellinger. So let's check that out as well. I'll look her up, and then what else do we have here? Berkeley Hollingsworth II. Instead, it's a Kingsport shipping magnet, so that's not Arkham. Kingsport's separate. And they did mention local dignitaries. So if we remember back here in our list of contacts, we have someone who's with that higher, that fancy part of Arkham. It is Ambrose Checkley. He is the person to see about high society and all that other stuff. So I'll put him down over here. Maybe he knows something. Checkley, U18. well, this newspaper so far is the most helpful newspaper we've had in this game. So let's see if there's anything else it can offer us. So there's this other thing, Aunt Enid's soup morning, that they mentioned here that they were talking about that these guys always went to soup mornings, and they haven't been seen. So we could also follow up with them. So let's try and find somewhere called Aunt Enid's. See if we can come up with anything with that. Tests for parrot disease. This other birds. I don't know if that's going to be anything for us. Now here's another one. Suspected bootleggers in Arkham jail after a heated fracas 3 days ago down at the Arkham docks. Federal agent and Arkham police have detained 2 men. They are being held pending charges for suspected bootlegging and resisting arrest. Eyewitnesses described the men as surprised and protesting their innocence as they were placed under arrest. Bootlegging has affected all towns in the Northeast, and there has even been an increase of women convicted the past 2 years. So they were down by the docks, and they're bootlegging, and there's a gala happening about a bunch of highbrow kind of ancient stuff. So that could be relevant as well. So the Arkham jail might not be a bad place to see what's going on there. Here's another one. All jurors decline legal swig of bootleg. In Kingsport, a trial is underway wherein all 12 good men out of 12 occupying in a jury box in county court declined the privilege accorded to them by George H. Furman of taking a legal swig of bootleg alcohol from a sample bottle sized in a cafe raid last week. Kingsport judge said he then felt obliged to sample the contents for the judge himself, and recess followed. The case reconvened 3 days later when Judge Furman confirmed the contents of the jug to be bootleg alcohol. Alright, so that's nothing, but funny. Policeman dead beside open gas jet. Patrolman Barton Johnson, 30, was found dead from gas poisoning this morning in the kitchen of his home at 780 Henry Street by his wife Lillian. He was sitting by the gas range with an unlighted jet open beside him. Suicide is suspected by the police. Now, that is not... See, this is interesting because it gives us a specific address, right? So... I wonder, we'll put a pin in that, and maybe that has something to do with this, but... Okay, so the only thing I pulled out of that is Aunt Enid's, so let me see if I can find an Enid's in here. And then I think that'll be the last of these. We have a good amount of clues just from this newspaper and talking to Armitage. Oh, Aunt Enid's. There it is. N33. Okay. So here, let's go over what we have here before we make any decisions. We have the location of the museum. We can talk to Inspector Garrison and the police about what they know about finding these guys outside the Gala causing trouble. We can talk to Fenton about see if he knows anything about this diamond. We can go to the the Arkham Historical Society to see if maybe we can find out the history of this diamond. Ambrose Chuckley can help us with information about high society, because it's possible that all this is happening because of somebody who's going to be in attendance. Aunt Enid's is a place where John Salter and Henry Benoit frequented, doing the soup there every morning. So they might have information. John Salter and Henry Benoit being two of the people that were listed as missing. So we have their home location. Oh yeah, I never got that. Amanda Bellinger, she is the one who is running this event. So it might be, we'll get her home location, but she also might just be at the museum. Bellinger. She's at N67. Okay. Then we have the actual veterans home, who is the company or the location that put out the feelers, if you will, letting everyone know that people were missing and they wanted them back. And then we have Berkeley. Oh yeah, Berkeley Hollingsworth. I don't even know if he's going to be in here because he's not in Arkham, but I still wrote his name down. Yeah, he's not in here, so that's not anything. I'll leave his name there just in case maybe somebody asks about him, but as far as I can tell, he's just going to be a... here. Okay, so we have a good amount of leads. What is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We got 10 solid leads, I would say. So... So Armitage hit pretty hard on the fact that he doesn't think these disappearances are a coincidence. So, and there was an MO. You know, everybody that's disappeared has been veterans and has been lonely, right? So maybe we go check out their homes. So I'd say we try and follow up with either of them, or we go and we talk to either Aunt Enid's or the veterans home. I think just directly following up with, or going after one of the two of them is going to be better. So let's just do it. We'll go with John Salter. Partial to that because my extended family is Salter as well. So we're going to go check out John Salter at D46. And I need to be more careful about this. So that was there. This was here. So we're going to go to D46, which is going to be somewhere over in that area. Alright, so let's see what we got here. D46. Alright. You easily find the small apartment overlooking the fog-shrouded river and are not surprised when your knocks go unanswered. A helpful neighbor, learning of your search, volunteers you the key on the condition he looks over your shoulder as you hunt for clues to make sure your motives are honest. You readily agree and give the place a quick once-over. In Salter's small study, you discover a journal lying on top of a calendar. You flip through the journal's contents. Salter makes several references to his friends Henry and Charles. He talks about Miss Bemis, as it seems they were organizing charity events to raise money for the veterans' home together. He also alludes to some peculiar jewelry in Yates that reminded him of that fateful day back in 1917. The calendar is marked with various charitable events coming up over the next year. Each Saturday is marked soup, and Saturday, 18th January, has the word gala with a circle around it. Okay. So, helpful. A couple of things here, not much. So, said his friends Charles and Henry. We know Henry is Benoit, but Charles, who is Charles is the question. So we gotta find out who that is. Also, Miss Bemis. Let's see here. He said that fateful day back in 1917. So this might be another reason for us to go check out the Historical Society and see maybe if we can get something on that. He marked Soup, so we definitely already have Aunt Enid's that we're going to go visit. And then Gala. So I'm going to put little asterisk next to Enid's and the Gala at the museum. So I think those are two places, and I guess also Miss Bellinger because she's running the event at the Gala. So I think those are there, and we'll check that off. Yeah. So he had the Gala marked, and I think that was, it's possible he was supposed to be attending it, or it could be a thing there. So put a pin in that. So we did good. So let's go and let's check out Henry Benoit, and let's see if anything comes from that. So U33. U33. All right. The fog is thick as you stride purposefully along the West Miskatonic Avenue in Uptown. You arrive at the large stately home of Colonel Henry Benoit and can just make out the stars and stripes hanging limply from a flagpole in the front yard. With your knocks unanswered and the fog masking your approach, you skirt around the building until you find a French window, which opens with a firm shove. Eager to hunt for clues before you are disturbed, you make your way through the house, finding that only about a sixth of it appears to have been lived in. All except the kitchen, parlor, and one of the upstairs bedrooms have the furniture covered in dust sheets and the drapes pulled closed. You concentrate your search on the occupied rooms and discover little. There is a ticket for the museum gala event on Saturday evening standing in the letter rack, along with a scribbled letter in a shaky hand penned from John, it reads, who we just went and saw. Henry, I fear for our safety. When the Kraken went down with all hands during the war, we swore we wouldn't tell about the horrors from below that wrought the destruction. I was passing Yates the other day on the way from the armory, and he had some of their jewelry on display. Matthew McDermott keeps insisting I go fishing with him in his charter boat. He thinks it would do me good. Perhaps it would do us both good before it is too late. They will come for us, Henry. What should we do? Will Charles come? I fear those deep ones and their loathsome servants, the accursed Innsmouth connection, will come for us. It is time for them to finish what they started in 1917. What should we do? You carefully replace the note, leaving everything as you found it, and slip out of the house the way you came. Okay, so let's check this out. This is actually really good. So John wrote this letter to Henry. So when the Kraken went down, so 1917. We know that it is Kraken. We're going to put deep ones. So there's something called Yates, which I think is a jewelry store, maybe. Matthew McDermott. So McDermott. Servants, the accursed Innsmouth connection. Okay, so he wrote a letter to him, thinks that they're coming for him. Said 1917, Kraken went down with all hands on deck. They mentioned the Deep Ones and then the Innsmouth connection. He said they were cursive, they're loathsome servants. So the Innsmouth connection, I think, is the name of like a cult that worships the Deep Ones, is what I'd have to assume here. So Salter was afraid that they were going to come back and get him. So I think now we go to the Historical Society, and we're going to check and see if we can figure out what exactly happened in 1917. So let's do that next. So it'll be the morning of day 2, and we're going to go to the Historical Society, which is going to be L1. Okay. L1. Nice. You sigh inwardly as you approach the Historical Society, thinking of all the times that you have sidestepped Dorothy Davis in her lectures on the Age of Sail. She will never let you hear the end of it now. You finally have come to her with a request about the South Seas. You explain to Miss Davis that you're looking into the Star of Teclau and its origins. Why, certainly you've come to the right place. I've been researching the maritime traditions of the Massachusetts coast, particularly around the Miskatonic Valley, for several years now. She is in her element as she begins to describe the 18th century voyages to the Polynesian islands. Arkham had several maritime families who journeyed extensively around the globe, as did Kingsport, but these are nothing compared to the shipping families of Innsmouth, who made a very profitable trade from the South Seas. That lasted until the start of the 19th century, when a number of sea disasters saw the end of all but the Marsh operation. The Marshes were still in business right up until a few years ago. Then federal agents raided a bootlegging operation and effectively closed the town down. You gently try to steer the conversation back to the Star of Teclau, but Miss Davis assures you that her story is relevant. The Star was brought back to Innsmouth on one of Marsh's ships. The captain, Nathaniel Kizar, traded almost an entire hold of goods to a fishing tribe on Teclau for it. He was obsessed with it, and when he was fired by the Marshes, he moved to Arkham with his family. He, of course, was the root of the cursed story. A malicious rumor spread by jealous rivals, no doubt. He squandered his fortune before killing himself to spare his family's embarrassment about the poor choices he had made in his life. The Star has changed hands many times, and at least 2 of his other owners are reported to have taken their own lives after financial misfortunes, but talk of a curse is just a way to sell newspapers, if you ask me. Take its most recent owner, Mr. Hollingsworth of Kingsport. Never a hint of problems in his life, and he left his estates to charitable associations. We received a delightful collection of letters handed down from the Civil War documenting the Hollingsworth family's adventures. The lawyer handling the estate dropped them off just yesterday. I think his family may have come from Innsmouth as well, judging by the name. If you have requirement card 4. Okay, so we do not have that. So, we need card 4. Okay. So there's some good stuff here. Let's see. Now, Innsmouth connection was something that they mentioned in the letter, and they said that there was the servants of the Deep Ones, and now Innsmouth is a place. So it must be people from this with the shipping voyages. Marsh open. The Marshes were still in business right until a few years ago when federal agents raided a bootlegging operation effectively closed them down. So there's a mention of bootlegging here, and we read about bootlegging in the newspapers as well. So I was right to assume that there was possibly a connection there. So maybe we go talk to the police after this since they arrested people for bootlegging. You gently try to steer the conversation back to the Star of Teclau, but she does it there. Okay, so Captain Nathaniel Kizar traded most of it for that. So let's write this name down. So he ended up killing himself, but let's look and see if we can find something else here. So we have Kizar. Family. Hands many times. Financial misfortunes. Okay. definitely some good stuff here. I'm just going to put South Seas, Polynesian Islands. Okay, so a couple things I need to find here. Yates. So let's look for a Yates in here and see if we can find anything. Yates. Yates Fine Jewelers, M29. Matthew McDermott. So let's look at the letter M's here. Let's go and find McDermott. That's R27. And then we have, let's look and see if there's a Kezar in the, there is, M Kezar U66. Alright. Nice. Okay, and then we also need to look for someone called Bemis. And let's see if we can find that. There is a Bemis, G Bemis, F47. Is there anything else that we're missing here? Somebody named Charles, but we don't know the last name of Charles. And then we need card 4, and if we get card 4, we can come back to the Historical Society, and we can try and get some more information out of that. Okay. So let's figure this out. Let's turn that up a little bit there. Perfect. Okay. Okay. So we did that. We need card 4 there. I think we go talk to Garrison because he rounded up those guys with the bootlegging. I'm really interested to see if we can talk to these bootleggers and maybe we can find a connection here to everything. So let's go talk to Garrison at D32. Inspector Garrison is in his office studying a plan of the University Exhibit Museum. He looks up and smiles warmly at you. Armitage got you out on the streets again. Anything I should know about? You explain that you're looking into disappearances suggested by the paper, and he shrugs. I think the professor must be bored. No one's reported them missing, and their morgue is empty for now, so there's not much I can do. He gestures at the plan. Besides, I've got my hands full policing the Blasted Gala event. It's making a serious dent in my manpower. I won't lie to you. If that's not enough, I've got this dang treasury agent, Weedham, sniffing around and getting himself into mischief. His normally professional solemnity suddenly cracks into a huge grin. Mickey Tull did have to take on a couple of toughs down at the dock. He accused them of bootlegging as they stepped off their rowboat, and they weren't too happy. They got a few licks in before Mickey managed to clap the bracelets on them. No evidence they've done anything wrong, mind you, apart from giving a federal man a going over. I might be able to hold them for a couple of days, but if Weedham doesn't find anything incriminating, I'll have to turn them loose. He'll not find much evidence of bootlegging down at the chemical plant anyhow. You ask about the group the police had to chase away from the museum, but it seems that Armitage has got the wrong end of the stick. The youths they had to chase away were just hoping to catch a glimpse of the new, and by all accounts very attractive museum secretary, if you have requirement card 1. We don't have requirement card 1. So we need that. So that would put us actually there for now. Okay. Now there is something that I want to check out here, something that I overlooked before. Nicholas Saltonstall, or Stallenstall, at D21, which is Town Hall. So D21. So something that I missed earlier was that they talked about these legal documents at the Historical Society that they dropped off. Solenstal, being at the at Town Hall, has access to all the legal documents and might actually give us something. Because I want to try and chase down that I want to see those papers is what I want to do. So let's do that. Let's go to D21. Let's go to Town Hall. And that is going to be... Oh, it's actually right here. Okay. Nicholas is looking rather flushed today. I've gone and thrown my back out, helping Bertrand move a filing cabinet. You make some vaguely sympathetic noises before turning the conversation to your investigation. Listening carefully, punctuated with sudden flinches and accompanying howls of pain, Nicholas jots a few notes down on his pad. You are, ouch, sorry. In respect to the diamond at the museum, I'm not sure there's anything to tell, I'm afraid. If it came from an estate, it might be worth checking up with local legal firms. Those military names might be of more use, though. With cursing and groaning under his breath, Saltonstall fuzzes off around a bank of filing cabinets for around a quarter of an hour. The air is occasionally punctuated with a particularly loud moan of pain before he returns with a piece of paper clutched triumphantly in his hand. Oh, my back. Okay. See here, both those men served together in the Great War, and more than that, they were survivors of a shipping accident as they returned from the European front. A British transport, the HMS Kraken, was lost with all hands except 3 American soldiers who managed to cling to driftwood for a week. Perhaps the Veterans Home could give you some more information. Take requirement card 4. How about that? So now we can go back to the Historical Society and we can read those documents. Alright, so is there anything else in this while we're here that we need to know about? The HMS Kraken. So that was the name of the ship. And then they reference Aunt Enid's again, so we need to go there for sure at some point. But for now, I do want to go back to the Historical Society with the card and read what that has to say. So put that there. And since we have that now, we'll go there, and we'll go back to the Historical Society, which is at L1. And then that will let us turn supplemental encounters 122, read entry 4. All right. Entry 4. You're about to leave the Historical Society when a painting catches your eye. It depicts storm-lashed seas and a ship listing in floundering as it goes down with all hands. The plaque underneath reads, "The Loss of the Kraken, 1917. You call Dorothy Davis over and ask her if she knows anything about the ship. Why, yes, certainly. That picture was actually painted by one of only 3 survivors of the disaster. Part of his therapy, I believe. In late 1917, the troop transport HMS Kraken was carrying our brave Miskatonic volunteers across to Europe to fight in the war. It ran into problems and was lost in the mid-Atlantic. Official reports say it was possibly a German U-boat attack, but none of the survivors can verify that, and none of them heard a torpedo explosion. You thank Dorothy and note the artist's signature, which appears to be that of Lieutenant Keyes." Wow, that's not what I was expecting. So, Lieutenant Keyes. So, write that down there. Okay, so let's go here and let's look for Keyes in the book. Let's see what his first initial is, because if this is C. Keyes, it could be Charles Keyes. It could be the third person that we're missing. Keyes C. Yeah, I think that's him. I think that's Charles. N58. That's where we're going next. All right. So we need to go to N58. There we go. N58. If you arrived at this location before the evening of day 5, which we did, go to supplemental encounters on page 122 and read entry 13. If you've arrived on the evening of day 5 or later, read the entry below. So 122 and read entry 13. Alright. The house on Northwest High Street is wreathed in fog, and the smell of rotting fish, which seems to follow you wherever you go, is particularly repellent here. Before you can knock at the door, a straight-backed man in his early 60s opens it and asks you to state your business. When you tell him you're searching for his friends, Colonel Benoit and Sergeant Salter, he invites you inside. It's very unlike them to just up and vanish. John Salter had often talked about moving to the mountains, so I suppose that's a possibility. I'm afraid that John has not been well of late, his mind playing tricks on him. We were in an accident back at sea back in the Great War. Our ship was lost, and only Henry, John, and I survived, and we know what really happened. It's taken a lot of time to heal those wounds. I have a terrible phobia of open water to this day. Even crossing the Miskatonic can be difficult for me. We were the veterans, you see, looking after the new recruits after their basic training. I don't think John ever really got over what happened that night in the middle of the Atlantic. All our boys lost. The old man pours himself a stiff drink to settle his nerves. John wrote to me last week, and his tone was one of a man beginning to unravel. So after he went missing, I naturally began to fear the worst. But with Henry missing as well, it makes me suspicious. Perhaps John was correct. Perhaps there are those who would seek to do us harm. We are the last 3 survivors of the Kraken. Perhaps fate or something is seeking to redress the balance. Well, I'm glad you came. It has helped me to make up my mind. I shall pick a case and spend some time in Topeka. That's a long way from the ocean, yes. I sincerely hope you find Henry and John, but I have a feeling that something terrible has happened. You bid the war veteran a safe journey and leave him packing. If you do not already have it, take requirement card 4. Okay, cool. Which I have. Okay. So... interesting. So they said if it was before the evening of day 5. Interesting. So let's read over this and let's see if there's anything that can help us. I actually don't think there's anything in here that's really... yeah. Yeah, there's nothing in there that's really any use to us. That's okay. Man, I've got to stop knocking this thing over. So that's where we are. It's there. Tenant keys. So for the Kraken, I'm just going to write down their names here. Charles Keyes, John Salter, and Henry Benoit. Okay, so that's down there in our notes on 1917. Okay, so from here, We can still go and see... yes, that was in 58. I needed it right there. Okay, so we're good there, we're good there, we're good. I'm not going to get rid of that one yet. We're good here. Okay, we're good here. So we can still go to Aunt Enid's and talk to them about this is the place where they have the soup. We can talk to them about the other guys. I don't think I need to go there anymore. So I'm going to put that on the back burner. We still have the jewelry store where they were showing off some of the jewelry. So I think we should go there and check it out. And then McDermott was someone who was talking to the other guys. And then Kezar is related to the guy who traded everything for the diamond originally, so we can talk to them as well. So let's go to Yates first. Let's go to M29. M29. You take an instant dislike to the pretentious jeweler, Mr. Yates. He rounds on you as soon as you enter the store, speaking through his nose with an irritating whistling noise, trying the hard sell. A new timepiece, perhaps? Something frivolous for that special someone? A gift for your favorite relative? You interrupt his aggressive pitch and point to some pendants labeled as Innsmouth Gold that seems to match the style of the Star of Teclaw necklace. Your eye is fixed on the strange jewelry, and you feel as though you could spend hours studying the striking, untraditional designs. You feel nauseous and lightheaded until Yates pulls you away from the case. Well, those I'm selling on behalf of Mr. Waite, who owns the store around the corner. We share a lot of the trade. He makes things, and I sell them on. He comes from Innsmouth, you know, and if you ask me, still has some strong ties to that town, as there were a couple of Innsmouth types arguing with him earlier in the week. You surely have heard about Innsmouth along the coast. Squalor and criminals, a once proud fishing town laid low by the evils of drink. The federal authorities all but closed the place down in the raids of 28. They were shouting about this and that, and one of them kept insisting that Waite pay the restaurant bill to the Russian that they owed. Interesting. Okay, so this guy, Waite. W-A-I-T-E. And so Yates is at M29, and he said it's around the corner, so it's somewhere around M29, which is going to be here. So this is M29, so it's got to be somewhere in this area, I think. So let's go here, and let's look for a Waite, W-A-I-T-E, and see if we can find anything. There is, L48. Let's just keep following the rabbit hole. Let's go to L48. Yeah, right. Okay, cool. All right. L48. The man looks perplexed at your arrival. Are you sure that you're not confusing me with the goldsmith on West Church Street? It happens more than you think. Oh my goodness. That is... Yeah, I should have paid attention. Oh, wah, wah, wah. And there's the first whiff of today's investigation. Okay, so goldsmith. We gotta find a store here on West Church Street. So, any of these M's right here. Let's go to stores. E. Waite Goldsmith, M27. I even thought in my mind that I should pay attention to the fact that he said around the corner, and I didn't do it, and now we wasted a time slot. Oh, that's frustrating. M27 is where we're going. M27. The proprietor, a thin, pale man with receding hair, is seated behind the counter at E-Weight Goldsmiths. He is engrossed in weighing out several large old coins. As you wait, can't see. As you wait, you cast your eye over some of the merchandise in the glass-top cases and are quietly impressed with the tasteful mounts and large selection that the old goldsmith has to offer. With a satisfied little noise, the man places the coins in a bag and puts them into a heavy floor safe and closes its door. He seems to notice you for the first time and smiles. Sorry, just sorting out some of the university finds from Professor Robinson's last expedition. She'll be happy that the gold content of those coins is high. I think it fits her theory about trade routes with the Caribbean islands. Sorry, I'm rambling. How can it be assistance of you? If you arrived here on or after the morning of day 4, proceed to supplemental encounters. I am on the morning of day 4. Otherwise, continue reading. Day 4, supplemental encounters, number 17. Waite is nervous and twitchy, especially when you explain to him that you're looking into the Star of Teclau. Yates and I had a mind to acquire some of the more modest items to sell on from the Hollingsworth estate. Until we learned of the connection to Innsmouth. I should have guessed that when I saw the name of lawyer involved. I left that accursed little town more than 18 years ago, and I have no intention of getting back into bed with those moral degenerates, no matter what Yates said. I asked him to get rid of my last mementos of that place. You press him a little harder about the connection between the Star and Innsmouth, and he cracks almost straight away. They came here asking for my help, Kezar and Tribble. Bad people from my past. The Star is tied to that accursed town and the ancient pact it made in the past. They are after it. It became quite heated. I threw them out of here and told them the Innsmouth connection was broken. Heard they got themselves arrested, morons. So those are the guys that are in jail, actually. Okay. He shakes his head sadly. As part of my past, I'd rather forget. Now, if there's nothing else, I really do have a lot of work to be getting to. I suspect they may be wasting their time, though. He looks a little embarrassed. Before I was asked to leave the gala, I was able to get a closer look at the Star. There is a flaw in one of its faces. It's virtually imperceptible to the untrained, even trained eye, but I saw it. The Star has always been documented as flawless. It doesn't make any sense. Take requirement cards 1 and 9. There's 1 and there's 9. Now, requirement card 1, as we know, is what we needed at the police station, so we can confirm that the 2 people that were arrested. So, Doc's arrested. Kezar and Tribble. So it's a good thing we didn't go to the Kezar location, because we could have messed up and lost more time. Nice. Beautiful. Okay, cool, cool, cool. So what else does he have to say here? The Hollingsworth estate. Interesting. Alright, so let's turn back here a little bit, get off that page. Very tempting. That was the page that had the questions, so I wanted to make sure I wasn't tempted to accidentally look at them. Okay, let's go back to the the police station. Now that we have cards, so D32. So D32, supplemental encounters, page 122, entry 1. Nice. You ask the inspector if you can question his 2 captives, as they match the descriptions of 2 men linked to your own investigation. He allows you 5 minutes but suspects that you're wasting your time. You smell the two men before you even reach their cell, a pungent reek of seaweed. They are unkempt with dull, expressionless faces and certainly have the look that you have heard hush whispers about whenever people mention Innsmouth. Their bulging, watery eyes unsettle you for a reason that you can't put your finger on. Who is this bothering us now? When are you letting us out? The bigger of the two men, identified as Caleb Tribble, snarls. You ask the men whom they are working with and what they are up to in Arkham, but they merely grin menacingly. I don't rightly think it's any of your business, nor is it any of the police's. We ain't broken no laws, and we ain't bringing booze up the river. Caleb's partner, the smaller Larry Kezar, can't resist chipping in. If you'd bothered inspecting our schooner anchored downriver from the docks, you'd see we was telling the truth. There's not a drop of hooch on board. Caleb Eldon's hard scowl. Shut up, Laura. That ain't none of their business either. Seeing you're getting little out of the men, you think the inspector and head back to the streets. Okay, so we have their names. So Caleb Tribble. So this Kezar is not the same Kezar that we found in the book that lives here, but there could be a connection, so we could still go there. So let's see here. We have if you bother downriver from the docks. So that's what we need to try and find. So investigating that would probably be a good idea. So Caleb Tribble and Larry Kezar. And then River of the Docks. Okay, so downriver of the docks. So the docks are going to be M10. So that is going to be here and here. And then downriver, I think, is going to be somewhere down there. But let's just go to the docks because I don't want to guess at anything like that. So let's go to the docks and let's see if we can investigate this boat. So M10. If you arrive at this location during the evening of any day, proceed supplemental encounters and read entry below 11, otherwise read the entry below. I am in the afternoon. Picking your way along the stone wharf of the river docks, you carefully skirt the haphazard crates and barrels that have accumulated over the years, litter blown by the breeze. Gathers along the wooden jetties that jut out into the gurgling Miskatonic. You spot the familiar face of Fritz, a burly barrel-chested dockhand who is lounging with a couple of surly-looking men. You approach him cautiously, but he seems to recall you and pushes the litter from the tops of the nearby barrels, allowing you to sit. The men are chuckling about the latest federal raid from the other day when a couple of men were hauled out of their boat and a scuffle ensued, apparently cheered on by most of the surrounding workers. You should have seen them go at it. Funniest thing I've seen in ages. That scrawly little Fred trying to read them their rights as they wrestled them all over the place. Shame they hauled them boys off to the station. If we get a strong southerly wind, their schooner is liable to break free and float away. Schooner, you ask, and the men tell you about the schooner moored in a secluded bay along the Miskatonic River estuary. Matthew spotted it coming back from one of his charter fishing tours yesterday and just sat there abandoned. Never a dull moment around here. If it's not old Teddy Blotto on the bootleg saying he'd seen sea monsters crawling over the wharf at night, it's out-of-towners fighting with the coppers. From further down the dock, a muscled man with a grizzly beard shouts a curse at the men you're talking to. Get back to work, you lazy ... You decide that you need to press on with your investigation. Take requirement card number 7. Nice. We have a lot of requirement cards now. Okay. Now, is there anything here that I found that needs requirement card number 7? Now, I'm curious because it says that if we came here during the evening, it would be different. So I'm thinking maybe we stay here and we come back in the evening and see if maybe that will let us find, because it didn't give us a location, right? Teddy Blotto. I don't know if that's an actual name here. Let's look in the directory. Let's find out. Blotto, Blotto, Blotto. That is not a name in here. Okay, so River Estuary. Let me see if I can find a location for that. Miskatonic. No, nothing there. Alright, yeah, let's just stay in the same place, and let's come back at night and see what this encounter is going to be. Maybe we can break that boat free. So, supplemental encounter, entry 11. The smell of rotting fish is almost overwhelming as you pick your way through the detritus of the river docks. The place is deserted and the thick fog curls ominously over the river. Poking around, hoping to find something of use in your investigation, you stumble across a broken crate bearing the name Innsmouth. The torn shipping label seems to indicate that it was once the property of the Marsh Refinery, but inside are several smashed bottles and the smell of potent moonshine. While examining the crate, you're startled by a sudden noise, and across the wharf you spot a movement through the fog. A guttural croak, followed by an answering call, freezes your blood. As the fog parts for a moment, you're confronted with a fleeting glimpse of something so hideous it makes your head spin, and you start to retch. With sickening, hopping, flopping motions, you are not quite able to comprehend the white-bellied creature, an anthropoid form with a grotesque fish-like head, makes its way across the far jetty. As the fog closes back, you listen to the croaking, bark-like calls before eventually the noise recedes and you flee into the night. Wow, so I saw some fish people is what I saw. So let's see here. So I'm just gonna write this down in case it asks me. So white-bellied anthropoid form, or anthropod maybe? Anthropoid form. With a fish head. With a grotesque fish head. Which sounds like a deep one to me, personally. Alright, so we're going into day 5. Alright, I need to find what is downriver. Maybe I can find in a little cove. R2. So is there an R5 over there? I'm looking for the R's. So I'm looking for R1 or R5 or one of the 20s. No, almost. R1s or R5s. Or some of the R's that are in the 20s. Alright, it's going to take a minute. I'm just kind of guessing on where this boat might be. I want to find this boat and investigate it. Or, no, we're looking for 27, 28. So R1, R5, R27, R28, any of those. Specifically, I really want to find what R1 is, because it looks different. Make sure it's not anything there. I think I already checked all these. Yeah, I did. Oh, so R5 is Marley's boat and bait. So that's there, but I'm looking for R1. So let's find out what R1 is. R1 is the shore. Sure. Let's go check it out and see if we can find anything. Day 5. So, let's go to R1. Maybe this is where the jetty is. The shore is a deserted, apart from the tiny figure of a fisherman sat out on the jetty. For further down the river, a small billboard contains local information for fishermen and tourists looking for pleasure cruises along the Miskatonic, with the only one currently in operation this time of the year is Matthew McDermott's operation listed at East River Street. Looking back up at the street you just walked along, you can see a sign for the small boathouse hanging 2 doors down from Marley's Boat and Bait. Alright, so let's go down and let's check out Marley's then, which is at R5. And that's actually right here. So Marley's is a popular destination for the nautically inclined citizens of Arkham, catering for everything from casual leisured fishing to more serious yachting. You nonchalantly peruse the goods for sale before discreetly asking the young sales clerk if there has been any unusual activity in the local area or if they had heard of Sergeant Salter or Colonel Benoit. The clerk thinks for a moment. Now that you mention it, there were a couple of military gentlemen in here a few weeks ago trying to find out if Matthew McDermott's charter boats were safe. They didn't leave their name. Wager they are the same people using the river caves downstream of here. Mr. Marley reckons there have been people meeting there at night, as it's out of sight of the main dock. Bootleggers from Kingsport, most likely. The clerk takes you outside and points out a rough track. If you find out who's been there, let me know so I can report them to the police for trespassing. You follow the narrow track as it leads down beside the river cliff to a small series of cave entrances, still wet from the high tide. You make your way in and out of the caves until you discover what looks like the remains of a fire. Picking through the burned remains, you're able to find 2 clues. First is a scrap of paper torn out of a book on which you can make out the crest of the Miskatonic University Library. Second, there is a fragment of typewritten note that reads, "Needs 3 if they are to be appeased. You 2 handle that. I'll deal with the museum by..." You pocket the scraps and head back to Rivertown. If you don't already have it, take requirement card 2. Okay. So I have all these requirement cards. I just don't know what to do with them. We've talked about this Matthew McDermott guy a million times. But they said his charter boats were safe. So let's try his business instead, which would be... Hold Matthew McDermott. Let's just see. That's R27. Oh, that's right next to where we are. Nice. So let's do this. All right. Oh, and that's right here, too. Matthew McDermott is a jovial Scottish man who has plowed the waters of the Massachusetts coast for over 20 years. You tell him you're investigating the disappearance of two old military men, Sergeant Salter and Colonel Benoit. They called in to see me. Salter seemed to want to take a trip on my boat, but the colonel wasn't so sure. Salter told me he just needed a bit more persuasion. A bad experience at sea, he explained. Perhaps they called in at Marley's. The sergeant did mention that to Benoit as they were leaving. He tells you he is happy to take you out sailing if you have somewhere in mind. Marley's probably too busy anyway. He's sure they've got bootleggers down at the caves that they used to winter their boats. I think the police caught a couple in the docks earlier this week. If you have requirement card 7, proceed to 122 and reach 7. We do have requirement card 7. Nice. Okay. So page 122, entry number 7. Matthew McDermott confirms that he has indeed seen an abandoned-looking schooner moored in a small sheltered bay along the Miskatonic and welcomes you aboard the Clarabelle, an elegant little steam-driven fishing trawler. After around 20 minutes, McDermott slows the craft and begins to pull to port, guiding the Clarabelle into a wide tributary where a two-masted schooner called the Sabre strains at its anchor chain. McDermott pulls his boat alongside and you struggle across the schooner. The smell of rancid fish and salt water is overwhelming, and you find yourself gagging. The vessel has 6 cabins and a locked strong room near the stern of the boat. 2 of the filthy, unkempt cabins appear to have been in use, but do not contain anything significant to your investigation, save a crumpled business card from Ottoman Books. In the common area, it looks as though a meal has been abandoned partway through. Take requirement card 5. Okay. A lot of requirement cards over here. You discover a large brass key hanging on a nail and are happy to find that it fits the strong room door. Opening, you are almost bowled over by the stench of fish mixed with the tang of stale blood, but the room is empty except for a small desk and a mop bucket. On the desk, you see a folded piece of paper next to a wedding ring and 2 pairs of dog tags, one reading Benoit H and the second Salter J. You reel back from the desk, overturning the bucket and spilling red-stained water across the strong room floor. Fighting to catch your breath, you burst out onto the deck. You don't remember getting back aboard the Clarabelle, but you find the folded paper in your hand as the boat chugs back to Arkham. It is a typewritten letter that reads, "Plans that have been made have now begun. Prepare the sacrifices for the gods who dwell below. We still need a third to complete the rite. I have the perfect candidate in mind for Innsmouth. If you do not already have it, take requirement card 2, which I already have. So, Salter and Benoit have been... sacrificed to Deep Ones. Business card from Ottoman Books. All right. Okay, so that was interesting. So, yeah. So, Ottoman Books, let's find out where that is. I think it should be under stores, maybe? Ottoman's Bookstore, M34. Okay, so we have the bookstore. McDermott. Alright, how many slots do we have left? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay.
Yeah.
So we can directly go to Ottoman Books, and I think we go to Ottoman Books and we check and see what's going on with that. I have a feeling Charles Keyes is the other guy they're going after. Because I remember Keyes said, if we're here before the evening of day 5, then talk to him there. So I'm wondering if we found this at this time, and if we go back now, it's possible he might be missing. But let's go to the bookstore first. So M34. So M34. Ottomans, Arkham's premier general bookstore, is bright and clean with towering shelves containing everything from children's fiction to gardening almanacs. You're met by a fresh-faced young man, the skin around his throat still a little raw from his morning shave, who asks if he can help you with anything. If you have requirement card 5, which I do, please proceed and to page 122, read entry 5. And if I had 6, read that as well. I don't have 6, but I do have 5. So entry 5, page 122. You show a young man the card, and he gestures to a small pile on the counter, indicating that anyone may help themselves to one. Oh my goodness. So I need to find requirement card 6 is what I need. Crap. So card 6. Okay. So what can we do? I think we should go back to Charles Keyes because I'm interested to see, like, if we know now that they had someone in mind. He was on the boat with them, and it would make sense. And it's a little meta, but we know that something happens if we're there after the evening of day 5. So let's go back to N58, and let's see if my hunch is right. So, N58, if you arrived at this location after the evening day 5, read the entry below. Okay. The house on Northwest High Street is wreathed in fog and smell of rotting fish, which seems to follow you wherever you go, particularly repellent here. You go to knock at the door and find that it's been forced. Jagged wood is splintered around the lock. I was right. As if it has been smashed by a tremendous blow. With your heart in your mouth, you push your way gingerly into the well-appointed property. There's clearly been a struggle in the main living room. A chair is knocked over onto its side, and a glass is smashed, its contents forming a dark stain on the rug. The impression is one of chaos. Clearly something bad has happened to Lieutenant Keyes, and you quickly search the house for anything that might help you shed light on the situation. In an upstairs drawer, you find a hastily scribbled note from Sergeant John Salter. I fear for our safety. Henry thinks I'm overreacting, that I'm paranoid. When the Kraken went down with all hands in 1917, we swore we wouldn't tell about the horrors from below that wrought the destruction. I was passing Yates the other day, the armory on display. That's the same thing he said earlier. I also spoke with Matthew McDermott at the dock to keep insisting I go fishing with him in his charter. Thanks to be good exercise my demons. Henry came with me, but said it was a waste of my money and wouldn't make me feel any better. I know your terrible fear of the water after the Kraken disaster, knowing what lurks in the depths, so I won't ask you. They will come for us, Charles. What should we do? Henry won't listen to me. He always was stubborn. I fear those deep ones or their loathsome servants, the accursed Innsmouth connection, will come for us. It is time for them to finish what they started. Maybe you could talk with Henry and make him see that we need to leave, go inland. I have made plans to rent a cabin in the mountains when the weather gets better. Perhaps both you, Henry, and might join me, like the old days. See you Saturday at soup morning to discuss it further, John. If you do not already have it, take requirement card 4, which I already have. And card 4 was what we needed for that. So going back and seeing that, oh crap. So we confirmed that something happened to him. But we didn't learn anything. I guess let's go to Aunt Enid's and let's see if there's anything there. Everybody has referenced it a million times, so might as well do it. N33. Aunt Enid's Cafe is a modern, gleaming establishment that is a counter service rather than the usual waitress taking the orders at the tables. In fact, the whole establishment is geared towards the customer on the go, and the menu seems to consist of hearty meals served in large portions with crisp white crockery. If you arrive at this location during the morning of day 3, proceed to supplemental counters in re-entry 12, otherwise read this instead. The cafe is moderately busy, and you sit down at the curved counter and enjoy a steaming cup of joe. Many of the patrons seem to be rail commuters, pausing to take a meal before their journey. You're able to chat briefly with the server and ask if he knows anything about the missing residents. I'm not sure if they come to our soup mornings, to be honest, but we get extra volunteer staff helping us out on those days, so they might know more. We hold them on Saturday mornings if you'd like to come along. They're open to everyone, not just the old. So if I would have gone there earlier, I could have seen that I needed to come back on the morning of day 3. And that would have given me something. But didn't give me anything now, so that's going to be a dead end for us since I didn't go there sooner. So I've only got 2 things left. Actually, I've only got 1 thing left that I can do. I have all these requirement cards, but I don't know where to use them. So I mean, I know what happened here. I know what's going on with it. And I guess let's go to the museum, I guess. Yeah, let's just go to the museum and see, because I think that the diamond was a fake based off the guy that we had talked to earlier. So let's just go check it out. So C24. C24. You walk along West College Street, the fog still suffocating the town. You hear the muffled chime of the Copley Memorial Bell Tower as you push through the doors of the University Exhibit Museum. A policeman moves to check your arrival, but it is one of Garrison's men. When he recognizes you, he nods cordially and returns to his guard position. If you've arrived at this location on the evening of day 3, proceed to supplemental encounter and read this. If not, read the thing below. The museum is quiet and still, like the fogged world outside its walls. Though the slight odor of rancid seaweed has found its way inside. You're not sure whether you will be welcome, so you cautiously pick your way between cases containing dead-eyed animals as you make your way through the new exhibit hall. Through the gloom, the drapes are pulled over the windows, and hardly any of the electric bulbs are lit. You can make out 3 enormous Maui heads. You carefully step over a heavy rope barrier, and hearing a floorboard creak, you dart into a darkened alcove and watch. A woman, blonde, tall, immaculately dressed, is in the room ahead of you. Something about her furtive movements leads you to continue watching from the shadows as she moves to a display case. She casts about, making sure she is alone, then quickly reaches inside one of the cabinets and places a small object from it into her bag. A call from further into the exhibit hall causes her to freeze. "Miss Bellinger, are you in here?" Snapping the case closed, she straightens up, checks her hair is in place, and wheels away from the case. "Robbins, is that you?" She marches aggressively out of sight, her heels clicking like gunshots. Her voice carries from the far end of the exhibit hall. "I don't care what Ingram says. I'm telling you the details of the curse stay on the display. I don't care if the library has lost the book. Make something up. Now go and put it back." You hear the staccato heels move off down a corridor. Keeping to the shadows, you make your way past the tall cabinets containing treasures and artifacts from the Pacific. The case that Bellinger had stopped at seems to contain small, intricately carved statues of grotesque marine beasts. It looks as though the remaining statues have been quickly repositioned so it is impossible to spot if any are missing. If you hear rustling and spot the man, Robbins, reattaching an information plate to the plinth of a large freestanding display case. He finishes what he's doing and raises the dust sheet. You cannot get a good view of the contents of the case, but you watch in fascination as he goes very still and places his hand on the glass of the case. His tongue slides across his lips. He is lost for a moment in his own thoughts. Then he drops the cover back in place and walks away, leaving the hall. Quietly, you creep over to the case and raise the dust sheet. Inside, squatting on a velvet cushion, lies the Star of Tuklau. It's a huge cut diamond, noted for its bluish hue, the size and shape of a bird's egg. Even unlit in the dark, it literally makes you gasp at its unearthly splendor, seeming to glow with a light of its own. The star is clasped at the base of a large necklace into which are set many other tiny gems. The serpentine necklace seems to be predominantly gold, though the light color hints at some strange and beautiful alloy. You carefully return to the cover and begin to read the newly affixed plate. Star of Tuklau, the oval-cut diamond weighing 216.2 carats, the reverse engraved with an unknown script, dated c. 1200 AD, each side drilled for clasps, bequeathed from the estate of the late Berkeley Hollingsworth II, originally thought to have formed a part of a pirate hoard recovered by Massachusetts sailor in the mid-1800s and considered cursed. The star is purported to lay curse on its owner. A firm hand on your shoulder startles you, and you wheel around and be confronted with a hulking, hairy man reeking of seawater. His identification bag names him Mr. McSweeney, an assistant curator, and he is furious. This area of the museum is restricted. What do you think you're doing? You apologize and try to concoct a quick excuse, but he doesn't buy it. Trying to take what is not yours? Maybe our lawyers will handle trespassers as well as inheritances. He hauls you to a policeman, and you are forced to undergo the indignity of having to turn out your pockets to prove that you've not helped yourself to any of the artifacts. Take requirement card number 8, which isn't going to do us any good. Okay, well, that's going to be the last one there. So I guess let's hope that I gathered enough information to figure out what's going on. That was a good one, though. Maybe, yeah, I spent, there was 2 locations that I wasted time at, so if I would have had 2 more, maybe we could have done a little bit more. But I feel like I got a lot. Alright. So, question number 1. Who is the final victim scheduled to be kidnapped by the Innsmouth Connection? That was Mr. Charles Keyes, as we went back to his house and found out that he was taken. What is the name of the ship sunk in 1917? That's easy. That was the HMS Kraken. Number 3. What do the Innsmouth Connection hope to use the Star of Tuklau for? To summon the deep ones, I believe. 4. Who was the leader of the Innsmouth Connection in Arkham? Oh, geez. I'll say it was her name, Amanda Bellinger. That seems to make the most sense. Where's the real Star of Tuklau? Oh, geez. No idea. Didn't get that far. What's the curse of the Star of Tuklau? Oh. Financial ruin. I guess? I don't know. Why is museum curator Amanda Bellinger acting suspiciously? I'm just going to put she's a demon. No idea. I know that one's wrong. Which reference book was stolen from the library? You know what? We knew that there was on the boat, we found the library thing on the boat. I I should have gone to the library. Oh my goodness. Stolen. I'm gonna say 1 fish, 2 fish, red fish, blue fish. Why is Agent William Weedham really in Arkham? Wow. I found out all this information that had nothing to do with the questions. Bonus. Was the kidnapping and murder of Lieutenant Charles Keyes prevented? No. Wow. Man. Alright, answers. Who is the final victim scheduled? Lieutenant Keyes. I got that. So that's going to be 4. HMS Kraken, I got that one, so that's 2. They plan to use the Stars ritual to open a gateway to Relay. I definitely didn't get that one. I'm leader of the Innsmouth Connections, James Robbins. Definitely didn't get that one. Didn't get that one. Number 6, drive its owners to insanity, depression, financial ruin, and suicide. You know what? I'm going to give it to me. 1 point for each part correct. So, yeah, I got it, but I only get 1 point for it. Why is museum creator? She's broke and attempting to pawn artifacts in order to pay her debts. So, nope, not there. 8. What's stolen from library? Relay Rising. I didn't go to the library. 9. Why is Relay there? Investigating a mysterious letter found to deceased mother's effects. There. If you reached location N58 before the evening of day 5, Lieutenant Keyes successfully escaped the Innsmouth Connection. You take no insanity penalties for this investigation. Oh, I did go there. I just went back there later. I see. Well, if you saw the deep ones flopping around on the docks, if you saw the Innsmouth Gold, if you saw the Innsmouth Gold in Yates, and at one point if you learned about Mary Kezar's fate. So I'm losing 2 points because 2 of those things happened. I was already only on 7. Jeez. I only got 5 points this time. Jeez. Yeah, I did not follow the right clues at all. I spent this whole time focusing on all of the veterans, and I didn't do anything about it.
My God.
So. All right. Yeah. For everything beyond 10, I used a lot more. I'm just going to say, I'm going to give myself a fat 0 on this one. So, that did not go well. At all. I completely flopped this one. So, solution A, if you reach your location in 58 by the morning of day 6, which I did. Returning through the fog to Armitage's office, you arrive to find the head librarian in an illuminant mood. You'll be pleased to know that I've just waved Lieutenant Keyes off at the train station. It seems as though between us we convinced him to depart just in the nick of time. I'm happy with the way it finished in the end. The connection foiled. The star safe. Did you start at the town hall or go straight to the veteran's home? Myself, I went to talk with Nicholas Saltonstall and found out about the fate of the HMS Kraken back in 1917. I had fancied for a moment that those creatures that had been spotted by people at night down at the docks may indeed have been Benoit and Salter driven mad with some hideous change overcoming them. That was until I went to Henry Benoit's house and my suspicions changed back. He finally stops his relentless pacing and sits down in his chair beside the fire. He leans closer to you and his voice low and even. The 3 men, Salter, Benoit, and Keyes, were indeed innocents. They were only survivors of their ship that was dragged under the waves by, well, I don't want to think about what. They were picked out not only because they had no one really to miss them, but because they had escaped from the Kraken in 1917. Garrison put me on the right track with the Innsmouth Connection, a gang of ruthless cutthroats, Kezar, Tribble, and Robbins, hiding in plain sight at the museum, took them and sacrificed them. At least we can comfort ourselves knowing that they will have a nasty surprise waiting for them if they do eventually try and steal the emerald and use it for their foul ceremony. The warrior's blood will not be enough to raise up Relay, not without the star. Professor Armitage pulls a map from a scroll case on his desk and unrolls a naval chart, jabbing his finger to emphasize his points. I was able to track Robbins from the neat, typewritten notes he had left in various places. He must have thought that he was concealing his identity by not revealing his handwriting. Corbett helped me see that a typewriter has a unique print as any handwriting analysis. Once I checked with the machine at his home, I was sure, and his link with the museum drew me back around to the star. The star had come from the accursed Innsmouth, brought to America by Captain Nathaniel Kezar. It had changed hands many times in the last few generations, spreading insanity, depression, financial loss, and suicide in most of the homes found itself in. Clearly the emerald is cursed. That much the advertiser got right. That the stone came into Hollingsworth's possession in 1917 is no coincidence. He managed to keep it from the connection all this time. He found out somehow that the stone can be used in a ritual combined with the sacrifice of warriors to raise Riley from this Stygian depths. Old man Kezar must have realized as well, but to have a forgery of such precision crafted was an inspirational move. All that matters is that it's now safe. Poor Mary Kezar will take the real Star of Teklau with her, quite literally, to the grave. No curse will ever be as bad as the horrific heritage lurking in her blood. With her brave choice, though, she is able to save us all. He sits back and steeples his fingers. I wonder what was the chance the occasion allowed Hollingsworth to come by the star in 1917. Perhaps an investigation for another day, eh? I think we deserve a rest. So he went to Saltonstall, to Aunt Enid's Morning, the soup place, and then Benoit's house, and then the museum, and then Garrison, and then McDermott, and then the Saber, and then River Cave, and then Bait, and then Kezar and Ottoman's bookstore. Okay, yeah, I did not do that well. Okay, cool. So I found out a lot of information, but none of it really helped me solve anything. The only thing that I did was I figured out who Keyes was, and I went and saw him before the 5th day. And I got lucky. That's all that happened. Other than that, I just did not do well at all. So, still not doing great on this, but the game's still fun. I still enjoy it quite a bit. So, that is the, yeah, there's that one there. That is the end of the 6th one. So, we have 2 more left in the book before we're finished. So, we'll be doing another one next week and the final one in 2 weeks. Thank you for tuning in and hanging out with me. Certainly enjoy doing these. I love Mythos Tales, and I enjoy doing this. So, real quick, as I always do with the sign-offs here, discount code Mythos Live. That code is only good for 24 hours. So if you go to our website, grayfoxgames.com, and you want to get a copy of Mythos Tales, put it in the cart, and then use discount code Mythos Live. And when you're checking out, it'll give you 20% off the games. It's pretty sweet. The other thing, teespring.com/store/grayfoxgames. That's our brand new merch store. We've got shirts, we've got hoodies, we've got stickers, we've got pillows, we've got all kinds of cool stuff. It's got a bunch of different artwork from various games that Gray Fox has. You know, Champions of Midgard, Seven Ronin, Bushido, Deception Murder in Hong Kong, Run, Fight, or Die. We've got some stuff that revolves around our cool logo and whatnot. Some really cool things up there. So go check it out. We're adding new stuff all the time, so that's a great thing there. Also, whenever you go to the website, if you're going to pick up a copy of Mythos Tales, if you're not already a part of it, go ahead and subscribe to our newsletter. That's the best way to stay on the inside track with everything that we're doing here at Gray Fox. We will, you'll be the first to know about any updates on production for any games that, like unfulfilled Kickstarters that we're working on. Like this, we still have Tsukiyumi Full Moon Down coming out this year. We have After the Empire coming out. We have Tortuga 2199. So you get all the updates on that stuff. We also give out free games. We have discount codes all the time. It's just a good newsletter to be part of. Doesn't cost you anything. Just put your email in. So, yep. So those things there. So that's going to do it for me today. I will be back tomorrow, same time, 3 p.m. Central. So tomorrow and Friday, we're going to be doing Tabletop Simulator. And actually going forward after this week, all of our streams are going to be pretty exclusively on Tabletop Simulator and try and do everything online. Make it pretty simple there. So, yep, so like I said, come back tomorrow at 3 p.m. Central, and we will have everything. I haven't listed any games or surprise games, but I'll be playing with another person or a couple of people, and kind of just go from there, play something fun. Yeah, well, obviously a Gray Fox title, but yeah, let's check it out there. So thanks so much for hanging out with me. I very much appreciate each and every one of you, and I hope everyone's staying safe.